Good evening from World Headquarters in McKinney, Texas. This is a hurricane tropical storm update. We haven't done this in a while, so let's go with it. Here we go. All right, here we see Tropical Storm Dorian here on the what I call the Super Geo color from the NESDIS GO satellites. Right here in the center of your screen, notice the dust off of Africa that has been inhibiting storms most of the year has now lifted to the north, and we have now starting to see that tropical convergence zone like we normally do every August into September. So nothing unusual about this, but we do have our first legitimate storm here into the Windward Islands, and is now expected to come towards a track towards the Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, in about 3 or 4 days here by the Labor Day weekend. Noticing the Euro ensemble tracks here take the system just to the east of Hispaniola. In other words, dodging the the hostile mountainous terrain there. Not the hospital terrain. You wouldn't want to do that. But this is a very much more stronger path here if this were to shoot the gap between Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. There will be some stuff that beats it up in that path, but it basically holds the storm intact now into the Bahamas, and that's where, again, if you look at the previous post about the TCHV being very strong near the coast this year, this is where I think we can get going, no matter what the shape Dorian's in, going into the weekend. There is some dry air out ahead of it that's inhibiting it, but you can notice that there's a nice core of convection and thunderstorms near the center. I think that's going to be our area feature that we're going to focus on. Yes, there'll be pulses up and down, but for the most part, I think we'll be okay in terms of remaining a low-level center or mid-level center intact. Just going to fight the dry air the next 24 hours here. Again, the path now trending northward, north of Hispaniola, and that put us in our Florida risk zone here into the next week period, once passed through the Labor Day weekend. The NHC forecast is very aggressive, making it a hurricane here, just south of Puerto Rico, Wednesday afternoon. And then they do have that shooting the gap, then bending back to the west as this ridge to the north forms. There is a good consensus on some of the models here. The stronger ridging will form in the southeast underneath this system, which will force more of a western path, and that may lead into Gulf interest later on. Just a very interesting setup. Here's the latest. That's the 18Z tracks. The 0Z tracks should be in soon anyway. But then again, the tracks are all bringing it close to the Florida coast as a tropical storm. I believe there's some upside risk to that given the water temperatures here and, again, that very favorable environment for development. So where Dorian, which was a weak little wave about 3 days ago, is now starting to look more formidable. I would give it a better than 50-50 chance of making an approach at the U.S. coastline. What I am concerned about is a lot of the forecast tracks bring it into the Gulf of Mexico early to middle of next week. Again, it should weaken somewhat on this course, but the first benchmark will be what it looks like here at Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and then I think our second benchmark is what it looks like here. So I'm raising the DEFCON on this to a more serious threat rather than a non-threat. But this is a more serious threat, obviously, for central and southern Florida especially, and then on to the Gulf of Mexico later on. Some of the European guidance brings the storm into towards the Louisiana, Texas coast very late in the period. But again, one day at a time, one hurdle at a time. That's been your evening update on Tropical Storm Dorian. Likely to be a hurricane probably within a day and a half or so. I'll keep you posted. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.